Hi, this is Charles Hoskinson, broadcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. Always warm, always sunny, sometimes Colorado. Today is March 24th, 2021. Exciting, fun day, long day, just about to end the day, but I figured I'd make a little video to close it out. So, you all will have noticed that I've been playing around with NFTs lately. It's a nice little thing to think about, explore. We're talking a lot these days about getting everything in place for Alonzo, and there's a lot to do. Oracles, there's stable coins, dexes, and NFT marketplaces have become a big deal. Go figure. And one of the things that I always do, just being curious about the industry and as an entrepreneur, is I just try out platforms. And so I read in the papers that Jack Dorsey sold a tweet, and I said, I'm going to go try that out. And actually, I've sold now two. Well, one, and I have an offer for the other one. And one we donate to charity. I'll probably use the other one for microfinance in Kiva. But I'm also taking a look at all the other marketplaces, and we have a person that we work with from Wave Financial, Les Borsai, and Les is like obsessed with NFTs. He calls me twice a day, like, "Oh, you wouldn't believe about NFTs." Look, mostly because he comes from the music business, and there's a lot of musicians, there's a lot of artists that are coming and saying, "We want an NFT, we want an NFT," and it is a marketplace we definitely can get on. One of the things I'm trying to figure out is everything about that marketplace. I did a crude business model canvas, and I was looking at things like, what is the intellectual property story? How do you handle fraud and dispute resolution? This is a multi-sided market, so what's customer acquisition costs? What does churn look like? What are the barriers to exit in this market? And how do you make them sticky? And also, these tweets I've sold on Ethereum, what stops me from selling them again on the Cardano blockchain? I'm a capitalist. I can just simply double my money. Yeah, okay, there's provenance and uniqueness, but this is the ADA version versus the Ether version. And like, why is one more valuable than the other, and so forth? So there's a lot to think about. There's a lot to do. And it's certainly one of the most exciting things in our industry. And I can see where a lot of these cool things go. But it is something that I am exploring. Now, the tweets I've chosen to sell, one was connected to a tragedy in Colorado. The other one is connected to one of my biggest blunders in my professional career. And part of selling it is kind of just owning that. Too many people, they just pretend like they don't make mistakes, or they pretend like, the past is the past. Well, sometimes you have to have some event to say we're beyond that. We've moved beyond that. In some cases, you make fun of yourself or you expose your own flaws or sins. And the "Do you know who I am" tweet from MetaMask is legendary. I tweeted it in 2018. I was in Vietnam at the time. I actually had the flu. I'd been traveling extensively. I was exhausted. We were just about to launch Icarus, which turned into Yoroi, one of our most popular products in the Cardano space. And MetaMask had just been delisted from Chrome, and it was a lot smaller at that time. And I didn't have any of the founders' contact information. And I've talked to many people, from Jack Dorsey to, you guys see, Mike Novogratz and others over Twitter through PMs. And there's just a very convenient channel. So I reached out to them and said, "Could you PM me?" And they said, "Use the support email." And I was really concerned that they were thinking that this was like an issue with their application, in which case it's a small open source project, probably not many people texting back. So very pig-headedly, I was like, "Come on now, I'm an important man. You should reply to me." And I got punished for it. So anyway, I'm selling that rare moment of a lack of humility to the whoever desires to have it, and frame it, put it on a wall or something like that. But I'm doing so because I'm learning a lot about NFTs as an entrepreneur, and as a ecosystem architect. And actually, what's cool is that a lot of these problems about metadata, identity, authentication, problems about governance, we have native capabilities built into Cardano, from Catalyst to our metadata standard to how we handle native multi-asset, that I think will make us probably long-term one of the best platforms to issue, curate, and transfer an NFT from one party to another party. So that's going to be an exciting thing to explore. And I actually think it would be really exciting to also examine trusted hardware, amongst other things, because there you can get proofs of guaranteed erasure. where an NFT could be transferred from one place to another, and the prior representation of it can be destroyed. So you have a uniqueness. The very same thing that could do that with a private key could potentially do that with an NFT. So I'll continue experimenting, and I use many other platforms. In many cases, I don't do it publicly. I do it through aliases because I get criticized or it creates a disruption. But in this particular case, because the tweets are connected to me, the only way I can sell them is publicly. But I do use many platforms. I have used Algorand and Tezos and even EOS. I spun up a full node once, and I've enjoyed or not so enjoyed certain things. What's most exciting about Cardano this year is that many of the pieces are coming together to enable the creativity of an amazing community to go and do some really crazy cool things. The last time I saw that at the same level that we're currently at was at the birth of Ethereum. So deep in my heart, it makes me really believe that we've kind of captured that spirit and momentum, and we're going to see enormous amounts of innovation, enormous amounts of just crazy ideas, many of which won't work, and that's okay. And what we do as a custodian, one of the many custodians, is we try to give a helpful steer and push people in the right direction. But unlike Ethereum, we have Catalyst, and Catalyst is growing at leaps and bounds. I think there's over 20,000 people floating around. Idea Scale has never seen anything like this in their company's history. And this is just the beginning of that. Very likely, there's going to be over 100,000 people floating around in that framework within the next 6 months to a year. And the amount of discussions, project fertilization, the idea flow, the upgrading of things is going to be pretty incredible. Now, for our part, we keep partnering. We're bringing in Governance Alive. That's John Buck's company. I've signed that contract, I think, 6 times because we keep coming back and revising things a little bit. But this time, I think we got it right. And we're also looking at adding an incubator accelerator component. And we're also looking at post-funding acceleration, incubation, auditing, and oversight. So we're going to keep pushing that through. And we've looked at a lot of partners from ICE Addis to others. And in the coming months and weeks, we'll make some announcements about that stuff. But managing that growth has been tremendously difficult for Dor, but he's enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed it. It's we had a conversation last year about our hopes and expectations for how fast Catalyst would grow, and we exceeded every KPI that was set. So that's truly extraordinary. And if you actually look, it's basically doing what I thought it would do, which is seeding all these experiments. For example, NFT marketplaces, there are 6 at this stage in Catalyst that are seeking funding to get started. And what we can do is show up and try to give them support, advice, and in some cases, perhaps funding above and beyond what Catalyst provides to incubate and bootstrap them. But really, it's more of a conversation of the crux of the business model. So where will NFTs be in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years? And what will the dynamics of this marketplace be? And what business model do we feel actually has the highest chance of success? Many of you may have noticed that I don't care so much about network effect because we live in an age where network effect is not sticky in many cases. I have witnessed, as have you, platforms with hundreds of millions of users die in a matter of months to years. Every video game is very popular. If you know these AAA games, Red Dead Redemption, Cyberpunk, and so forth. And if you look at the gameplay usage, it tends to die off unless there's something to have people keep coming back and be sticky. It wasn't too long ago that World of Warcraft was like the shit, and it has definitely not succeeded as much as it used to. The same for EverQuest, the same for all of these other things. And those are among the most addictive and sticky of experiences. So networks have to have a reason to survive, and they have to go through a continual process of reinforcement, reinvention, and proper use and utility. Even things like Windows, which sought to be indomitable, they may die because they just simply no longer are the model. The same for mainframe computers and so forth. So that's one dimension of network effect. The other is that a lot of the network effect is borrowed. If you're Uniswap, you don't wake up every day saying, boy, how do I make Vitalik Buterin and Ethereum rich? You're a platform for liquidity. You're thinking about primary and secondary offerings. You're thinking about trading, and you're saying, I don't care if the trading occurs on EOS or Tezos or Cardano. What matters to me is predictable cost. What matters to me is people who are using the system are paying low fees, are having a good experience, that this is a better product than a traditional centralized exchange. And ultimately, my path to getting 1 billion customers is clear. So what does that mean? It means that most of DeFi will become multi-chain out of necessity, and a lot of DeFi will nest at a race to the bottom. So that seldom will be a completely decentralized platform. It'll be some hybridization of permission and permissionless. And that's probably not going to be the thing that gets your platforms where you need to go. The social dynamics are far more important. That said, it's easy to clone these protocols. It's easy to partner with these. Just in NFTs, we've already approached several of the top 10 marketplaces and already begun discussions of porting them over to Cardano, because why not? It's an easy conversation. It's just engineering resources, and we're scaling up capacity there specifically for these types of relationships. And we'll do the exact same for other protocols above and beyond just NFT marketplaces. Eventually, we'll probably see these things with other DEXs and oracles and so forth. And eventually, as I said, it's a race to the bottom, because we think the bets we've made on our operating model long term will be superior to other platforms. Within a few year band, it wouldn't surprise me to see most of them migrate over to us. Because why would you want to pay more money, especially if you're not giving up customers to transfer over? So that's what makes this fun. All that said, tomorrow is going to be a good day. It's our Cardano 360 episode for the end of the month, and this one's a pretty special one to me. So I really would love for all of you to tune in, and we put a lot of work into it. We brought a lot of people on. There's a lot of passion in this show, and what's more exciting is that the subsequent shows in April, May, June, July, they're over time going to become more community focused, because a lot of the things that are exciting will not be infrastructure. They will be products and projects and use and utility and cool things you, the community, are doing. So, in addition to that, we recognize that a multi-hour format, while it's great for nerds like me, probably not so good for the mainstream public. So, in addition to Cardano 360, we're also going to be deploying a Cardano 360 Mini. So each segment of Cardano 360 we'll have David, because he's really good at the short form, concise 1 to 3 minute time, TikTok-ish time frame. He'll create a very concise version of that, along with some visuals that are shareable. And then we'll try to stitch that together into a 10 to 15 minute episode, which, if you don't have the time to watch the full thing, will give you a real good high level summary of what actually happened, what were the announcements, what are we doing, and what did we accomplish that month. So I expect to see you guys all tomorrow. I'll be there. And the coming months are going to be some of the most fun and challenging in the project, and challenging in that there's a lot to deliver, a lot to do, working more than I think I've ever worked in my life, but also rewarding, because this is where things get turned on and get put together and so forth. We haven't given up any ground. In fact, we just keep gaining. We just keep adding. In fact, I'm probably going to spend more money on scientific research this year than in any point in my career. I suspect our research budget for just basic sciences and industrial research will be $15 to $30 million. To give you a sense of that, there were years in our company's history where that was our entire yearly budget for every single thing we're doing. And that's just now the scientific spending. So things are definitely growing here. We're probably going to hire between 100 to 200 people this year alone to augment, add to the existing work lines that we have. In addition to that, we're starting to see very substantive commercial success and making headway in the Fortune 500 and in the governmental space. And so in the coming months, we'll have more to say about that. But I think our investments we made in being the adults in the room, in terms of doing the research, doing the formal methods, doing the code right, and just being very clever about governance, are going to pay huge dividends and allow us to win the long game. Cardano has always been a long game. I don't particularly care about the day-to-day markets and the day-to-day social media storms, positive or negative. It is nice when everybody's praising you, and you got to take that with when everybody's criticizing you. And some days we win, some days we don't. But we never lose focus of where we're going and why we're going there in the mission, which is to give economic identity to those who don't have it. And I'd like to believe that there are now hundreds of thousands of people floating around the world, if not a million, who have that same mission. And they've made my mission their mission. And then together we can succeed. So thank you so much for listening, and let's have some fun. Cheers.